go ahead and mute this.
Okay. Hope you guys have been well. Hope you guys are good. Yeah, guys, welcome back. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of some rest yesterday. I know coming off of holiday, it was a lot. I did not want to bum rush through trying to get to 2 or 3 sections. I know you guys could have done it, but would that have been the right thing to do? Absolutely not. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in. We're still in the security fabric section, right? We went over what the Fortinet Security Fabric is, right? We know the definition of a fabric, right? And it's if we combine that with Fortinet security, right? It's basically tying all Fortinet products, right, and non-Fortinet products like third-party vendors, all to work as one cohesive, right, unit to attack network security. Okay, so tonight we're going to go ahead and deploy a simple security fabric, right? Because again, we spoke about what makes up a security fabric at its core, right? 2 FortiGates and a FortiAnalyzer, right? So that's how we're going to go ahead and that's what we're going to go ahead and deploy tonight. All right, let's go ahead. So the objectives, right? The objectives for you guys, we're going to go ahead and understand how to implement the security fabric, right? Configure the security fabric on a root FortiGate, right? And on downstream FortiGate devices, okay? We're going to understand how device detection works, and we're going to understand how to extend your security fabric, okay? All right. So, a couple of things in this topology, right? Right? And so you see the FortiAnalyzer, right? That has a connection, direct connection straight to that core. We're going to call it the core FortiGate, all right? Or the root in a sense, right? That's what they call it in security fabric terminology, right? And then you have your ISFW, your internal segmentation firewalls, right? Which aggregates, of course, the WAN into logical components and allow your network to contain a threat should a breach occur. Okay. All right. So again, a simple network, right? And we have the core, we have those downstream FortiGates, and we have the FortiAnalyzer. And so that, right, that is what our lab topology looks like today. Okay. So we have our core, we have our FortiAnalyzer, right? And we have our 3 FortiGates, right? And we're going to go ahead and test all of this. Okay. So let's go ahead and deploy it, right? And we're going to go step by step. Okay. So, 1 second. Oh, it looks like Brian's jumping back in. There we go. Okay. So first things first, right? We need to go ahead and enable security fabric connection, right? On the interfaces that are facing the downstream FortiGate, right? We need to go ahead and select, right, which FortiGate is going to be that fabric root, okay? We also need to go ahead and configure FortiAnalyzer's IP address, right? Then we need to go ahead and set up a name for the fabric, okay? And so once we do all of that, right, once we have our downstream FortiGates, right, connect to, get connected, get attached to the security fabric, theoretically, right, it doesn't always happen, theoretically, that information about FortiAnalyzer should get pushed down, right, to our downstream FortiGates, right? We can also set it up to where we can pre-authorize, right, our downstream devices, right, where we can go ahead and add their serial number, information about that FortiGate, so that as soon as you connect, we know what what interface is going to hang off of, and as soon as it connects, it's automatically joined to the fabric instead of going through the multiple steps. Okay, so a little background about the topology. I did not set up the topology entirely just yet, right? All I did was give it a name, and of course, I connected it to, of course, my local area network, so that we can go ahead and get into them, make some changes, and go from there. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have FortiAnalyzer. I'm going to jump into that, and we're going to go ahead and check that information. Let me move this a little bit over. There we go. Now let's hop on it, right? And we're going to the CLI. And I don't want you guys to take notes um, of FortiAnalyzer, right? Because this is out of scope for the NSE4, right? FortiAnalyzer and FortiManager is the topic of discussion for the NSE5, okay? So let's go ahead and just confirm our layer 3 information for our interfaces, okay? All right, so we're going to do a get. Perfect. All right, so we see our IP address, right? And it's hanging off port 1. Let's see what's enabled. All right, so we just need to make a small edit, right? And you guys are probably wondering why we need to make an edit. So with your home lab, right? HTTPS, right? It's not going to work because of course you need certificates, et cetera, for SSL to operate properly. Okay. So I'm going to enable HTTP, right? Now let's go ahead and test and see if I can reach it. And I should get that warning. All right, if I try to log in. There we go. Okay. And there it goes, right? It's telling me it's using a self-signed cert. And of course, that certificate cannot be trusted. But we're fine because we're in a lab environment. Okay. So let's see if it pulls up. Excellent. Excellent. Right. So it's asking me for a license, right? Making sure it's good to go. So we'll set that up in a little bit, right? And of course, this will be good for you guys that wants to set up FortiAnalyzer for your home lab as well. All right. So that's all good, right? Let's make sure we got connections to our other devices, right? So core FortiGate, let's go ahead and hop into there. Let's log into that. All right. Perfect. All right, looks like I shut it down incorrectly last time. So let's go ahead and fix that. But we are, core of it, able to log in. Let's go ahead and process this disk scan. All right, references 17. There you go. Perfect. All right. So while that works, right, and it reboots, I'm going to let it do its thing. Let's go ahead and check the ISFWs. 3. All right, excellent. All right, same thing. Apparently, I'm terrible at shutting down my devices in my lab. So there we go. Do this scan. Awesome. All right, so all of them are going to reboot. Okay, let's open up 5. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and log in. Perfect. There we go. Okay. There we go. Perfect. All right. So while that's happening, let's go ahead and set up FortiAnalyzer. All right. And I'll show you guys how we're going to go ahead and set that up. So let's read this off, right? This product requires a valid license. If you've already purchased the license, please upload it now. If you want to evaluate this product, right, please log into your FortiCloud account and start the free trial. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me double check my information. 1 second, guys. There we go. All right. All right, let's take a look right here. There we go. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my personal FortiCloud account. All right. And we may need to do some manipulation on layer 3. I don't think a static route is set up. Yep, that's correct. So let's go ahead and make some changes to layer 3. Configs. Layer system should be route. There we go. There we go. That's, there we go. And port 1, destination, destination. There we go. All right, right. And we're going to set the gateway. All right. Of course, my home network. Right. All right. Let's see what happens now. Okay. All right. So let's try to log in again. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. FortiCloud. Log in on my side. There we go. Okay. So over here. Perfect. All right. And guys, I'm just logging into my account. There we go. Let's go ahead and see if I can manually register. I should be able to. Yeah, the system. Status. There we go. There we go. Okay. And we see the serial number. Let's go ahead and grab that. Okay. Just doing a little bit of setup on my side, guys. There we go. Oops. We're doing that. And let's go ahead and register this bad boy. Okay. All right. Let's see what the error is here. Just verify that it's the password. Okay. If that's not working, let's go ahead and get that license.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
Look, layer 7 issues. Nice. Look at me. Hey, man. This what makes it authentic. I'm not going to try to create a perfect video, guys. Okay. All right. So now we're setting up, right? We have outside access. So let's wait for it to register, right? I should be reaching out to my account, my FortiCloud account. Let me show you guys how that looks like, right? All right. So we're on my account, right? And you see, we saw what the serial number looks like, but of course it's giving it a random one, right? It's doing some masquerading right there, right? So we're able to play with it for a little bit, okay? All right, so it's gonna go ahead and restart. Let's check on our other devices. Let's log into our core and let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. There we go, okay? And let's look at our information. All right, so 115. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop on there. All right, we're still using HTTP. And just to be safe, let me just check before I even attempt to see what's enabled. We should have enabled HTTP since this is an old image. But let's verify. Let's do a show. And HTTP is not enabled. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. There we go. All right. Perfect. All right. So now this should work. All right. All right. Perfect. All right. All right. Let's make sure that we're on. As you guys can see, we're on old code, right? 6.4.4, which is okay. I know the exam is 7.0, but we're just trying to get the concept down. So we're logged into one. Let's go ahead and check the other. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. Awesome. All right. Okay. 19. All right. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and allow that. Excellent. Okay. Awesome. Good. Excellent. All right. So it's popping up. We can see it. Turn off that video. Excellent. Let's check on our VM. It's probably still okay. Awesome. All right. So we probably just need to refresh the page. All right. So we're going to let that load up. And let's go ahead and log into 4 and 5 while that's loading up. Okay. System check. Okay. This list. There we go. Okay. So we got to do it again. No biggie. Okay. Scan. 17. Perfect. So I'll let that do that. Let's check on 5. Okay. So we are good to go. Let's go ahead and check on this. Okay. All right. We got a new one. All right. So now we're going to that. There we go. Okay. All right. And that. Okay. All right. So that's set. So let's try to access 5. Excellent. Right, we're looking good. Excellent. Okay. All right, so that's good. That's good. We got to the core. Now let's try our local username. All right, looks like it is taking us in to Fortinet Analyzer. All right, let's give it a refresh, see what happens. While that's happening, let's go ahead and check on ISFW4. Okay, so it's still starting. Okay, try this again. Let that work itself out. Let's go ahead. Okay, 4 is good. Let's just make sure. Okay. So no more error of the disk. All right. 124, perfect. 1, pane that allow access. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and try to access it. Awesome. All right. Excellent. So we'll get in. Perfect. So we're in all firewalls. And let's see if we can go ahead and get to Fortinet Analyzer. Looks like no. Let me go ahead and try in another browser. 1 second. Let's see if it plays better with Chrome, and it actually does. Okay, so we're playing better with Chrome. We're good. All right, perfect. Let's go to system settings, right? Because there are a couple of things we need to go ahead and check, right, before we deploy Security Fabric, right? One of the requirements from a technical standpoint is FortiAnalyzer needs to run, right, on the same train as its FortiGates it's going to manage. What do I mean by that, right? So if we have a FortiAnalyzer, right, that is running 6.4.x code, right, it can only manage FortiGates that's on the train of 6.4.x and below. Okay. So let's go verify on our firewalls what code they're running. All right, we see 6.4.4. All right, let's log into this one. Okay. We have 6.4.4, 6.4.4, 6.4.4. Okay. Now that's set up, right? Let's go ahead and start to configure our fabric, right? So let's go to the core FortiGate. And we are going to first, before we do anything, we need to configure layer 3. Okay. So if I go ahead, take this out of the mix, I'm gonna leave this right here, and I'm gonna pull up, the topology so I can take a look, right? So move this a little bit over, and let's move this right there. There we go. All right, so we have port 1, right, that connects to my local network. They got it from DHCP, right? I need to go ahead and configure all the other interfaces, okay? So I'm going to configure port 2 that connects to ISFW. Need to go ahead and take care of all my layer 3. All right. And I'm going to give it a .1 for each of these interfaces. Okay. We're going to enable just ping security fabric, right? And this is one important thing that we need to go ahead and do whenever we're setting up security fabric. Enable this on an interface for those downstream devices. We talked about device detection, right? We need to go ahead and make sure we enable this, right, whenever we're setting up our fabric, okay? So we have that set up, all that's good. We can enable DHCP, make it a little bit easier, but we're going to do static configuration on our network infrastructure devices for now, okay? So let's go ahead and get that set up. We're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and set up port 3. So we're just going to do that, do the same thing on all of the interfaces. Okay. There we go. Port 4. Excellent. All right. Set that up. Of course, that connection to Fortinet Analyzer, we need to go ahead and set up. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. Let's go ahead and do that for everything else. Okay. Let's go ahead and put that over there. Excellent. Okay. Let's actually move all the FortiGates to that one. So we go ahead and keep track. There we go. Excellent. All right. All right, let's go ahead and knock out 3. Okay. Okay. There we go. Excellent. All right. Okay. 4. I'm on ISFW5. There we go. Excellent. Enabling the same things. All right, so that's set up. Let's go forward. Let's move that in the middle. All right, same thing. We're going to go ahead and set up our interfaces. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Let's enable that. Okay. Excellent. So we have all that set up. Last but not least, we need to go to our Fortinet Analyzer and do some configuration there. There we go. All right. So let's set up our interface over there. And we are on the 10.10.1 network. All right. So let's go to Fortinet Analyzer. Let's go to network. Let's look at all interfaces. And we are hanging off of port 2. Okay. 10.1.2. All right. There we go. Okay. Right. I'm going to go ahead and enable that. Excellent. All right. I'm going to enable this interface. Okay. Excellent. Right. So we got that enabled. All right. And so from the core, right, trust but verify, let's go ahead and attempt to ping all of our interfaces, right? So let's log in. Perfect. All right. So, right, big picture, right? If we have interfaces configured, right, with a specific network and prefix, right, subnet mask, what have you, we should be able, right, we should be able to reach, right, devices that are on those specific broadcast domains, because now our device, right, our core FortiGate in question should have connected routes, right, installed in its routing information base or its routing table. Okay, so let's go ahead and push a ping. All right, execute ping, and let's say to FortiAnalyzer. Okay, all right, that looks good. Let's do one to each of the other devices. Okay. All right, perfect. I can reach it. Everything's good. Last but not least, perfect. All right, so I can reach all of my devices. Everything's good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to go ahead and build this fabric. All right, so let's go to the security fabric section. All right, so you can see when we first get to the page, and it looks the same on 7.0 code, right? It's going to be disabled, right? So let's go ahead and go in here. First thing we're going to do is enable the fabric, okay? So you guys are probably asking, okay, why did these interfaces pop up? They popped up automatically, right? Because we put device detection on there, okay? So it's allowing for all of them to join, right? Port 2, port 3, port 4, port 5, right? We can enable Samuel, right? We don't need that, okay? Right? And so we're going to go ahead and I'm actually going to turn that off, all right? Because I do not need that. We are going to set the management IP. That is going to be, let's go ahead and to access it. I should have put them on the same broadcast domain, but no worries. We'll set that up later, right? Management port, we'll use the same. We'll just use the admin port. It's going to use the default 443, all right? And we're going to set has fabric root, okay? So asking us the source interface, right? What is it saying, right? The interface that will be used to communicate with the FortiAnalyzer. If one is not specified, then it will be determined based off the routing table. But we know what that is, right? That's port 5. So let's go ahead and select that. Excellent, right? And we're going to go ahead and confirm that IP address of FortiAnalyzer and put it in here. So let's go ahead and pull up Google. And so we have 192.168.1.99, but that's the management IP, right? Our IP that's on that same broadcast domain is 10.10.1.2. So that's what we're going to put in here. Excellent. All right, it's telling us it's no connection, right? We have an SSL error, right? Typically, right, if you're deploying this with a license, all of it is licensed and it's in a production environment, you would not have this error. If you do have this error, there is one thing you need to do in the CLI. Again, don't take this all to heart. This is mostly because of we're using a virtual license, right? And we're using it in the lab environment. So let's go ahead and resolve that error. Okay, let's go ahead and go in here. Let's blow up this page so you guys can actually see. Okay, and I just need to make a couple of edits. Give me 1 second. let's first go to the core. Okay. There we go. There we go. So you guys can take a peek, right? We're going to set that encryption algorithm. We're going to set it to low. All right. All right. That's all we should be able to configure for now. Oh, absolutely not. So let's go ahead and set all of that up via CLI. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's enable it. Let's set that to low. Let's set server 10.10.1.2, right? And we have that set up. I think we should be good. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. Okay. There we go. So Fortinet Analyzer is enabled. All right. So I believe we need to do the same thing on that side. Let's go ahead and set that. Port 5, which is fine. We need to go ahead and set that up on the other side. Let's change that encryption method. There we go. All right. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and do the same encryption algorithm. We're going to set it to low. Going to set that to enable. Okay. Going to do a couple of things here. All right. Set that up. All right. I'm going to say yes. Okay. Let's just make sure. So perfect. All right. Awesome. All right. So we should have saved it. Let's return. Now let's see. There we go. All right. So okay. So we have no connection. So error. I believe it's one more thing that we need to do on our side. There we go. Okay. We go. No. Let's actually change that to the default. There we go. I'm gonna say yes. Yes. We're gonna allow it. And let's see what happens here. All right. Okay, so now I think all we have now is, there we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to FORTINET Analyzer and let's take a look and see what we have here. Right. All right. So let's see what we have. Let's go ahead and add it. Right. We're going to get that serial number. We're going to go back to go. We're going to go to our dashboard. We're going to go ahead and grab that. All right, let's grab that. Let's go ahead and put that in FORTINET Analyzer. There we go. There we go. All right. We're going to call this exactly its name. There we go. All right. So went ahead and add it. Let's check on the other side. Make sure it's running good. Excellent. All right. Cool. So we have a live. All right. FORTINET Analyzer is working good. Right. Let's enable this. Right. All that is fine. We're going to call this, since I love the flash, the Speed Force, right? This is going to act as the root. We're going to click OK. Excellent, right? So we have our security fabric set up. Okay. So we have that. So now let's go ahead and go to our other devices. Okay. So let's go ahead and add them here. Let's see which device is this one. Excellent, right? So it's going to be ISFW, right? 3, right? Just to be safe. All right, Brian, thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and add that static route. I'm going to go ahead and put it for that next hop. Excellent, right? We're going to put that there. And we are going to go ahead and join, right? So let's back it up, right? So this is one of the branches, right, off of the Security Fabric tree, right? We're going to go into Security Fabric setup. We're going to enable it, right? And we're going to go ahead and choose the option Join Existing Fabric, right? And so what we're going to put is the IP address, if we go back to the topology, of this FortiGate and how it connects to it, okay? So that'd be 10.10.2.1. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so 10.10.2.1, right? We're not using SAML, right? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this, right, 2.2, right? So set that up. We're gonna enable it, right? All right, we're gonna hit OK. Now let's go back to the core, right? Let's go back to the core, right? And let's go ahead and double check. Now you guys see what popped up in the top right-hand corner, right? We have to authorize the device. I wonder what that is, right? That is one of our firewalls, right? That's the one we just added, okay? So now we have a fabric, okay? Right? Let's go back here, right? And see if it added FortiAnalyzer information there. which you shouldn't be able to reach it yet, right? Because of course we need to create firewall rules so it can actually pass through, right? So this is probably going to be going around and going around, right? We'll set that up beautifully in a little bit. Let's just go ahead and finish these configurations on all these firewalls and create what we had in mind, okay? Okay, so we have this set up. Let's go ahead and make sure we put in our routing, right? We have our static route, 10.10.3.1. All right, automatically chose the interface, and let's go ahead and add, let's go ahead and be a part of that security fabric, okay? Manual, right? Then upstream, right? And we're going to put our IP address. There we go. We're going to click OK. Excellent, right? And let's do the same thing. All right. We're going to go to our other firewall, right? And complete this fabric. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and, all right. I have too many. There we go. We're going to go ahead and go to fabric connectors. Same thing, same exact thing. We're going to enable it. We're joining an existing fabric. We're going to put the core IP of how I connect to it. We're going to disable SAML. We're going to put our IP address on how we connect, right? Now, a lot of these settings that I'm putting, right? For example, management IP FQDN, right? Let's read this, right? Allow users to navigate to this FortiGate from other FortiGates in the security fabric using this IP FQDN, right? If no IP FQDN is specified, the WAN IP will be used, right? So, and I know one of you guys had questions about, infrastructure and architecture and, how to set things up in the past, right? This is all based on how you architecture your network, right? Right? Any network can be better. Any network can get better. As you guys see, I could have put a switch in the middle of my FortiGates and to make it easier and put them all in the same broadcast domain, right? So that it'll be better management, okay? Maybe set up, of course, out of band management, right? This is just for the sake of the lab. A lot of these settings aren't static that I'm putting. This is just for an example so you guys can actually see how Fabric is set up, okay? Let's keep going, right? All right, let's tell it to join up, right? All right, perfect, right? So we have a few, right? So we're back at our core. Let's go ahead and authorize it, right? Telling me to authorize another, right? Let's go ahead and refresh this bad boy, right? And so what's happening here, right? What's happening when we're creating our fabric, right? Remember, one of the rules within creating a security fabric is that the settings for, right, the core network security fabric that we're creating it's that root, right? That root FortiGate that's controlling everything within the fabric. It's going to propagate information about FortiAnalyzer. It's going to propagate information if you're doing cloud logging. It's going to propagate information about FortiManager. It's going to propagate information about FortiSandbox, right? To your leafs, right, within your security fabric tree, okay? Right, and of course we should see errors, right, in FortiAnalyzer because of course we don't have firewall policies here, right? But it did get that FortiAnalyzer information, right? If we go ahead and hop into it, right? So it's going to have that, right? Let's go ahead and just for giggles, right? The VM, there is a limit on how many firewall policies we can allow. Let's go ahead and do, right? Let's do 3, going to 5, and let's just verify that that is correct. All right, yep, FortiAnalyzer is hanging off port 5. So let's just do 1 for now. Excellent, let's do 1 for now. We're gonna do all Do all. Do all. Right. We're not going to do that. Okay. We are going to, right? If we were in a live environment, we would go ahead and enable the UTMs that we want to use, right? But we're not going to enable any UTMs, right? Because it's a lab environment. We're going to click OK. Okay. We are going to do some manipulation here. We are going to enable multiple interface policies. Okay. Let's go ahead and go back to policy and objects, right? Because we have a limit on how many, how many firewall rules we can go ahead and put in there. So I want to put multiple sources that is going out to FortiAnalyzer. All right. So I'm going to put 2, 4, right? They need to go ahead and reach FortiAnalyzer. Okay. Right. And let's go ahead and do the reverse. All right. Excellent. Southbound. All right. Let's go ahead and call it that. All right. Let's hop in. Make sure that is disabled. Awesome. Disabled. All good. Let's enable this. Let's go ahead and rename this just for good measure. Excellent. We're going to hit apply. All right. So what we should see, right, while it's testing it, let's make sure we have a default route on our FortiAnalyzer, right? Because it needs a way to send that traffic back to where it came from. Let's go to the network, right? And let's actually switch this. Right. And leave that there. And let's actually let's check our topology. Let's make it very specific. 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. Go. 1, 1. There we go. And that's going to be off. For 2. Excellent. And do the same thing. And we're going to do 10.10.3.0. Right. I'm going to specify the networks. Okay. That I need to go ahead and reach. All right. And the interface is going to go off of, right? Last but not least. There we go. All right, so we should have all of that there, right? So if we go test connectivity, let's see what happens, right? And we may have to add it manually, right? But let's see what happens, okay? It's telling us no connection, all right? All right, it's telling us no connection, all right? So let's go ahead and add this bad boy manually, okay? And again, I don't want you to pay attention to the FortiAnalyzer part. Again, that's out of scope. I just want to show you guys how this looks like, okay? So let's go ahead. If we go back here, let's see what happens, all right? We are going to say, which one was that? There we go. All right. It should be 10.10.2.2. Okay. 10.10.2.2. Okay. Right. So we have that set up. We're going to give it a name. ISFW. Let's confirm that name. There we go. Excellent. Right. Awesome. Right. So it was brought in. Let's go ahead and double check on that. Right. Right. Let's go ahead and refresh. Let's go to our Security Fabric page. Right. And it should be registered. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, and let's see if it's connected to Fortinet Analyzer. It should have connections. Okay, all right. Let's check connectivity. All right, probably a few, 2 or 3 settings, right? But this is essentially, right, how we would set up that fabric. Okay, and we need to possibly do the same thing that we've done on all the other ones, right? We need to go ahead and change those small settings. Go ahead and do that for now. Give me 1 second. Config log for analyzer setting. All right. No, it's already enabled. Perfect. And we are going to, all right. All right. Let's set that. Let's see what happens. While that's happening, let's go ahead and check on, let's make sure we're logging that traffic. Excellent. All right. So let's go ahead. Awesome. Okay. All right. No connection. All right. Well, we don't have to dwell so much on that, right? This is essentially, at the core, right? We can take care of that layer 3 stuff a little bit later, right? But at the core, this is what a fabric looks like. Okay. We have our core FortiGate, and we have, of course, our other FortiGate, our downstream FortiGates that we can go ahead and manage, right? If I want to go ahead and log in, I can go ahead and log in, right? If this was an intertwined network, it would automatically bring it to this page. Since my home network, right, there isn't any natting happening and I can't reach the interface that I specified, right, I won't be able to reach it, okay? But yes, this is exactly, right, how it's set up, right? And if you set it up properly, you set up your architecture properly, you'll be able to log in auto-magically, right, from this route. Okay. Right. And that's it. Right. This is how you set up a security fabric. You go ahead and deploy it, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Now, there are a couple options, right? A couple of options you can go ahead and do. Let me go ahead and pull the PowerPoint back up. Right. So let's say you deploy it, you deploy your fabric, right? But, right, my Kiwi is going through her settings and she's seeing, some settings aren't the same, some settings are, right? Donovan and Makivia has the option within their fabric to synchronize objects, okay, across your security fabric, right? You get into the CLI, and this is where the rule of some things that are not able to do in the GUI, you can go to CLI and vice versa, right? This is where this rule comes in. You would have to go ahead, go to that CLI, right? Type in these commands that you see on the screen, and it'll go ahead and do a synchronization of objects to those downstream devices. Okay. All right. Take note of everything you see. I'm not going to read word by word. It may come up in the, in the questions at the end of this section. Okay. Let's keep going. Right. We can set up the strategy, right? If we were using a FortiGate, right, and a Forti analyzer that was running 7.0, they do have the option now in the GUI to where you can set up the synchronization strategy, right, via the GUI. Okay. But by default, and of course, what I recommend to you guys, if you do end up coming up with this in a production environment, please use the CLI. That's actually better. You can actually see what's going on, right? And how does this help, right? Let's say you have an entire security fabric, right? The objects you're going to use, right? Those address objects, right? Address groups typically are going to be the same, right? If you set up your network similar to how we just set it up, right? You want to go ahead and make sure, right? Instead of doing it on each and every one, you can go ahead and synchronize it, right? Copy it, right? That root will go ahead and copy all those address objects. So when Mykivia goes to manage these FortiGates, she already has the address objects on those downstream firewalls. Okay? Right? And of course, you guys saw this screen, right? You guys know what a topology looks like, right? You see the connectors, right? Okay, right? So, last but not least, what we didn't talk about is VDOM mode, right? Virtual domains, right? And so, virtual domains, right? I'm going to assume you guys know the concept of VLANs, right? So, VLANs, of course, they're separate broadcast domains on the same device, okay? This is typically what VDOM is but at a larger scales, right? And you can deploy your security fabric, right, in different modes, right? So there are two VDOM modes, right? You can either do a split VDOM mode, right, which has a total of two different VDOMs, right? Root and FG traffic, right? And what does that mean, right? The root VDOM, that means Mykivia can only go in, right? Can go into the root VDOM and do only management things, right? And work on some hidden entries, right? She's setting up some stuff that affects the FortiGate globally. Okay. If Donovan wanted to go ahead and log into the FG traffic VDOM, right? That VDOM, right? Because we talked about permitting access per VDOM, right? In the last section, right? If he only has access to the FG traffic VDOM in this split VDOM setup, he can only go ahead and access, configuring security policies, right? Seeing what he's going to allow through his FortiGate, right? But he won't be able to go ahead and create neither Mykivia nor Don. Doesn't matter the access. If you're working in split VDOM mode, you won't be able to create new VDOMs, right? Because you're only going to have two, right? Within your security fabric, all right? If you have multi-VDOM mode, I'm sure you guys can go ahead and put two and two together. You can create multiple VDOMs, right? And what does this mean, right? Similar to VLANs, right? It's going to work as multiple independent firewalls on one device, okay? All right, let's keep going. Any questions? I know VDOM is a new topic. We're going to go deep into VDOMs later, right? Later, probably in this study guide or the infrastructure study guide. Any questions so far?
So far.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Thank you for staying with me. Some little bit more stuff about split task VDOM, right? Split VDOM mode, right? Similar thing, right? Similar thing. Okay. We're not going to get too much into looking at the logical topology. Okay. All right. Now I'm sure you guys are familiar with FortiClient. Okay. But let's talk about, right, device identification as it relates to agentless versus agent, right? And so a useful feature, right, within the security fabric is that it is able to go ahead and read what a device is, right? You can go ahead and identify what the device is, what its OS it's running on, right? And so it's going to look at that MAC address, right? It's going to detect, right? Reaching out to FortiGuard, say, I got the OUI, right? I'm looking at the traffic. I'm seeing its TCP fingerprint, right? I'm looking at a few things that I can identify what this device is, right? So it can identify its workstations, maybe a server, etc., right? And put that in that logical topology, right? So under detection methods on the left, right, under agent list, these are all the ways a FortiGate can go ahead and detect what a device actually is. It all the way goes all the way down to LLDP, goes down to QUIC, right? I know some environments QUIC is disabled, right? That Google protocol, but it can go all the way down that. It can go all the way down to DHCP, right? Whenever that door process happens, it can go ahead and detect that. Okay. Versus agent, right? If we have FortiClient within our environment, right? Makivia has it deployed, her being the engineer, she deploys it to her entire environment. FortiClient is going to report back, right, to that security fabric and say, hey, I got this information, right? The FortiGate, the core, right, and all my downstream FortiGates were able to identify this device, right? How is this important, right? We're talking about deploying a security fabric to attack network security, right? To take, to go ahead and address the topic of network security, right? And so this can assist in the long run as it relates to tackling network security within using that security fabric. We can go ahead and identify a device, identify what it is, how it is, right? And whenever we're setting, we probably go ahead and set up alerts, right? To go ahead and send those messages, right? Maybe to our log analyzer, maybe something like Splunk. She gets the email, something happens. It can all work in cohesive to attacking network security and doing its job as a security fabric. Okay. Right. And same thing. This is where we went over, right? We enable device detection at the interface level, right? We go inside the interface, we click on that toggle that says device detection, it'll be able to read, right? So if you look on the right, you see that it was able to detect that it's a Ubuntu machine, right? On device detection. Based on all those methods, right, it detected what that device is. Okay. And with that being said, you guys successfully deployed a security fabric. How does it feel?
Good. Well, I mean, some of the things that you've done, I like, as far as like you talked about like VDOMs and stuff. We work with currently, but it's just what I would say is new is like adding like the ports to the security fabric and adding like all of the other firewalls under the core firewalls. That's something that I newly learned. So
Gotcha.
that's good. But like, yeah, this was a little bit.
That's it. Yeah, for sure. And that's why these are recorded. So you can go back, take a look. And if it still doesn't make sense, right? Because I can admit I do miss some pieces, right? I think all of us do as humans. I can send additional resources, right? To where they can explain it better than I can. They can go a little bit slower, right? To where you can learn at your speed. Right? And so it'll all make sense to you because again, you guys are going to be the engineers that deploy this. So it's very important that it makes sense, right? And so that even beyond passing the NSE4, you guys know how to talk about this fluidly. Okay.
Indeed.
Right.
I have a question though. So
Yeah.
like in a sense of like what should I refer to it as like the core? Is it like kind of like something like what like FortiManager in a sense? Or no? Or I'm
Not
completely off.
not
Okay.
necessarily. You're not completely off. You're not completely off, right? I think you're right. You're not completely off because remember, in our security fabric, we can include all Fortinet products, right?
Gotcha.
That'll create the security fabric because we keep interweaving different things. But I
Okay.
want you guys to keep in mind we're studying for the exam, okay?
Uh-huh.
And so we're just worried about what the basic core requirements are: 2 FortiGates and a Forti analyzer. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, I get what
I
you're
see.
saying. Okay,
Okay.
so, like,
Okay.
are we asking questions that's basically not gonna be on the test?
No. This is good questions. I just want you to understand, right? The questions that you guys are asking are good, but let's not go too much out of scope. You guys are going to touch Forti managers. Any real live production environment that's running Forti Analyzer, it's going to be running Forti Manager. Okay? To
Oh,
enhance this.
okay.
Go
I
ahead.
I guess I have a question piggying back off of Donovan. Like, so the core firewall is like basically would be the primary firewall, or like what would that be? Like,
Exactly what you just said.
if we're not, okay. Oh, okay.
Exactly what you said. So let's go
So
back.
So are the other ones, so say if you have like 4 FortiGates,
Mhm.
okay, I don't know if that's extreme, but 4 FortiGates basic, no, well, that's actually what we just did.
Mhm.
4 FortiGates, but like how would you know which one is the core? Like like the management firewall? Like how would you know that?
Based on how you configure it, right?
Okay.
Right? Exactly what I just did, which is assign who is going to be the fabric root. Because remember that step, right? That step of setting who's going to be the root, right? Or if I'm going to join, right? If I'm going to join a fabric already, okay? So that's something you configure. This is something that you architecture, right? So
Okay.
it doesn't matter how many, you can have 60 for all I care, right? If you look at my screen, remember what the primary purpose is, right? It's to create a fabric, right? Right? Similar to a piece of clothing to cover something, right? We're covering the attack surface, right? Right? Utilizing, right, the strategy of network security with implementing a security fabric. You're interweaving all these things, all these different appliances, all these different hardwares, right, to attack network security within your environment. Okay?
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. And just as a reminder, remember what's at that core. Okay, Don? Right? Two
Yep.
FortiGate devices and a Forti Analyzer. Right? If we add those additional things like Forti Manager, Forti Client, and what have you, right? We're adding visibility to our environment, right? Okay. And us deploying it, right, is us even, making it even that much more detailed to make sure we're gaining visibility to every crease and corner of our network. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get through these review questions and then we'll be done for the night. All right. So, question one. What are the two mandatory settings of the security fabric configuration? Is it A, the fabric name and the security fabric role, or B, the fabric name and the Forti manager IP address?
Is your A?
A.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Remember, to create a fabric, we do not need Forti manager at its core, Forti analyzer, and two FortiGates. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Question two. From where do you authorize a device to participate in the security fabric? Is it A, from the downstream FortiGate, or B, from the root FortiGate?
E. Root.
There we go. Right? We can go ahead and put the information about the upstream FortiGate, about the core FortiGate, the root FortiGate, right? But we can't authorize it until we get back to that root or the core FortiGate. Okay?
Alrighty.
Makes sense?
Yep.
And on that note, you guys are done for the night.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
No
Definitely.
problem. No problem. I know that was a lot, right? That's why I didn't want to bunch up all last night, especially coming off the holiday. So we're going to come back tomorrow. And potentially we can go ahead and complete these next two sections. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Wow.
Thanks.